Here are the things you'll need to know for the essentials for understanding trig. And that is when you look at one of these acute angles and identify its opposite, adjacent, and a hypo. So first of all, we will never focus on the right angle. Only one of these guys. So depending on which one you focus on is when you'll see an opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse. So let's look at a triangle. Let's look at this right triangle and let's focus on this. First of all, we always have the hypo in the same place. And where we find the adjacent and the opposite is always the easier one. The opposite, if you were to put your pencil or a straight line out of the angle you're focusing on, that is always the opposite. Now there's only one angle left. That's the adjacent. So you have to be able to identify the opposite, the hypo, and adjacent of any angle that you focus on. You have to pick the angle first. So let's look at this one. Let's look at this angle right here. We know we have the hypo across from the right angle. And once again, I think the opposite is pretty easy to find. And that's directly across from the angle. And then there's only one left for the adjacent. One more. So we have this angle we'll look at. Hypo's across from the right angle. And if we focus on the side opposite the angle, and that will be opposite side. And there's one left for the adjacent. So the reason why you'll know these is to understand how these fractions work. Our first trig ratio is sine. And it is a fraction, a ratio of the opposite side over the hypo side. The cosine is the ratio. That is a adjacent side over hypo. And then the tangent ratio is opposite over adjacent. And these are the things we're going to be working with for the next few days. So here's the basic of cosine, cosine, and tangent. When you look at a triangle, here's what I need you to be able to do. So if I'm looking at this angle on a basic 3, 4, 5 triangle, I want to look at that angle, and first of all, we want to know that this is the hypo. We want to know that this is the opposite. And there's only one left for the adjacent. So, if I looked at that angle and I wanted to know sine, the fraction, the ratio for sine is opposite over hypo. So you will give me a fraction of 3/5. For cosine, you will give me a ratio of adjacent over hypo. And that ratio would be 4/5. And then tangent will be opposite over adjacent. And that would be 3/4. So in the next couple days we're going to be working with these ratios